Hello and welcome to The B-Side, where we take an honest look at the UK music industry. I'm Saskia, aka Sassy, and my guest today is a radio producer and marketing consultant, currently doing her thing at none other than BBC Radio 1 Extra. She's one of the coolest people I know, honestly, and it's my friend Khadiee Afflick. Hi, Khadiee.
Hi, my love. Sorry, can I just take a moment and say what an amazing introduction?
Well, I've read it myself.
Love it. Kudos. For those who can't hear, I'm clapping.
She was clapping. I can vouch for that. Thank you so much. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I am
Mhm.
tired, but inspired. So
I love that. Yeah, because guys, Khadiee was on Radio 1 Extra Breakfast this morning, and that is like before the sun's come up, you know, working, like doing jobs at that time of day. So well done to you. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Honestly, I had several coffees, but in the moment you're leaving at like 5 a.m, and you almost start questioning your life a little bit. It's like, does anyone love me? Like, what is happening? And then you get to the studio and it's like, okay, now I know why I'm here.
But you're contemplating on that commute. Yeah, I get that.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the first question I always ask. What was your first job in music?
Oh, that's a very good question. My very, very first job, I was just this Radiohead who, I don't know, you may call it sad, I call it inspiring. I've always just had, like, if you guys remember, Choice FM back in the day.
Hell yeah.
Right? Can we just talk about it? Like, Kojo and Jade in the morning, I was like, these are my friends. They don't know it yet, but like in the next 10 years, when I'm like an actual adult and I've got experience, I'm going to be working with them and then we'll be friends.
Mate, I'm not going to
That
lie.
was my whole rollout.
I don't want to like make this about me, but my uncle was a Choice FM DJ.
No, stop it. Who is your uncle?
Steve Clark. He used to have a Saturday show.
I know him. Oh my God, stop. No, literally on my drives, when I used to go to my auntie's house, would have it on. I'd be like, yeah, I know who's on because I know the whole schedule. That is crazy. So you mean to say he was a nipper maybe this whole time?
Oh,
this makes sense.
We like to keep it under wraps.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
I'm joking.
Edit that out. I didn't say that. What I meant is she was born with natural talent. That's what I mean. Yeah.
So you were listening to radio, listening to Choice FM, and you were wanting to get into that.
That was me. I was like, this sounds so cool. It was giving community. It was relatable. And then to hear the first tracks ever to be played, I'm thinking, oh my God, what is the conversations they're having off air? I need to know, like, did they manage to hear like the stems first? Did they hear like different versions? It was like, I had all these stories in my head and I'm like, I just want to immerse myself in that world.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how at the time, but then a little birdie told me a thing called community radio. And then I stumbled across Represent Radio and I was like, you know what? This is perfect. It's local, you know, it's champion Black music, Black sounds. I've seen people literally go in there and literally skyrocket their career. I was like, okay, so it's given breeding ground of talent. Yeah. I want to be there. And I remember it like it was yesterday because I was so shy. I would literally just like, it was based in Pop Brixton for context, guys. Yeah. And I was like, I would go in there and be like, okay, if I order something at Pop Brixton, I don't look as creepy. And it's like I've just stumbled across it. So then I remember being like, I'm going to go get these chips from this like one vendor and I'm going to find myself going upstairs thinking I was going to the toilet or something. Like I had it all planned, guys. I was like, yeah, no, I know what I'm doing.
Oh my
No,
God.
honestly. And then I was like, oh my God, is this Represent Radio? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, that's so funny. I've been listening to you guys for so long. Like, I can't believe this is happening.
What are the chances?
What are the odds? Like, it's a sign from God or somebody at least. I was like, oh, so how do you guys get into it? And then slowly but surely I found myself like creeping in the office more and more. And I kind of sat down listening to the stories and I was like, this place is amazing. I love it. I really want to work here. And then I was like, so how do people with no experience get in? It's like, oh no, the door's always open. Literally, that's how you got in. I was like, no, that's true. That is so true. Yeah, I love that. When can I start? And I was like, yeah, no, just drop us an email, it'll be fine. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Yeah. Before I even got down the stairs, after saying my long ass goodbyes, I sent my email and I was like, okay, they're going to get back to me tomorrow. I just know it. I put real jazz in there. I said the shows that I really work on. I said what I can do. A day turned into weeks, turned into months. And I was like, oh, okay, this is just, I'm not happy. So then I remember being like, right, take two. We're doing this again. So I planned another trip up to Brixton. This time I was like, you know what? I'm not going to the vendor because they know my face now. And we had a we had a good conversation here. We was bonding. We was talking about music. We was getting into the crux of it all. I was like, yes, love this. So then I remember being like, you know what? I remember the station manager's name. I'm going to go up there. Ran up there and I was like, right, I sent you guys an email. I know you guys are really busy, but I really want to work with you guys. You know, I'm happy to volunteer. I can just watch you guys. I can shadow. I really don't mind. And I was like, okay, fine. Because there was all like, whoa, like there's a lot of energy. So I was like, come here next Thursday. We'll give you some training. We'll show you around. But then you have to do one thing for us. And I was like, yeah, what do you need? I was like, could you buy us a set of donuts? You got to keep us sweet here. That's kind of how it works. Now, at this point, right, I wasn't even picking up on the fact that they was just joking, playing around. I thought there's been serious as a heart attack. So I made a note in my phone to be like, right, stop at Tesco's, get some donuts. And that's literally what I did that following Thursday. I went in with like literally a dozen donuts. Like I bought it and I was like, he was only joking. I was like, yeah, I just wanted to make a good impression. And I was like, you can stay. And then I stayed there for about 3 years later. I had a time of my life. I became a producer after volunteering after a year and a bit. I had a show called The Levi Show, which was amazing. He was an upcoming artist who specialised in dancehall, reggae, played a bit of like Afrobeats, R&B, like everything, the works. And we managed to get the best artists in. Started off quite wholesome, just up and coming like rappers or just like reggae artists from like South London. And then somewhere along the line, we started going outside, started going to events, and I bumped into someone who just happened to be Dawn Penn's manager.
No way!
It was so random. I think it was at Powell in Brixton, and they was having an event, and we was just vibing. I thought, oh, I love this song. Do you know what? I wish if the rhythm they'd go into this song, and then if they had a mashup of this, I was like, you know, your music. I was like, well, I don't mean to brag, but I work at Represent Radio. I'm a producer, and I was like, no way. Well, I've got an artist that really wants to get some promo done. I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, probably another upcoming,
here we go,
whatever. And I was like, do you know the artist Dawn Penn? Sorry. As in like rock steady.
Do you know what I mean? Literally just said, you know your music. It's like, but do you know Dawn Penn?
Yeah, but you know what it was? I think he was clearly picking up on my excitable energy. Like, oh, she's young. What is she like? What, 19? Like at that point, I was happily 22. Just saying, I was grown. So he was like, I can put you in touch. I was like, yeah, I can do that. That's fine. Let me just check my diary because, you know, my artist / presenter, he has shows. So let's see if I can make it work. Obviously, I'm turning around. I was like, yeah, no, do you know what? I think we can do next week. Yeah, that'll be fine. Here's my details. Yeah, we'll be in touch. And I remember just going home being like, oh my God, guys, you won't believe it. I'm just like, yes, I've just done my people proud. Yeah. Proud British Jamaican here. Yes, I've got the Dawn Penn. Yeah. I actually have her number and management. I'm going to be on phone with them. Oh my God, it's amazing. What's like, oh, do you guys know? Like, I remember just my phone being like, this is a lot for us to take in. We're super proud, but let's just take it down a notch. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is a bit much. And I remembered like the day came and I was like, oh my God, like, guys, I think I remember it like, no, honestly, like it was yesterday. I showed up to the studio 3 hours early and I was literally giving everybody a disclaimer like, guys, we have a legend in the making that's coming here. Can the studio be tidy? I feel like we need to do extra clean. Is she happy with this? I know her dietary requirements, so everything just needs to be perfect, guys. Please, like, please.
That's the energy that you need, though. Like, you know,
honestly,
you, as you say, you know your music. You know that this person has made such an impact. Like, you just want to pay her flowers, you know. And yeah, you were young at the time, but I think that just speaks to like your passion and your knowledge of the craft. And like, yeah, like I hope you're really proud of how you approach that, because I know obviously like they're going, all right, calm down, because they're so used to like these kind of, you know, mingling with artists and everything. But I think part of it is that excitement, like that's what drives you, right? Like, how did it go?
No, honestly, it was amazing. Don't get me wrong, it went on longer than it should. Our show was only 2 hours. I'm pretty sure just her speech alone was going up to about 40 minutes. So obviously, like, the fangirl in me is like, this is great.
Yeah.
The producer in me is like, this is far too long.
Yeah.
We need to play some tunes. We need to cut that. We can't even cut it down because it's live. What is going on? Like, how is it going on socials? Like, my brain was just all over the place. And then you can imagine we also had like a whole studio just full out with like Viz team. We had people doing social media. We obviously had management. So I was already in like a studio that was the size of a shoebox with like 20 people in there. I was like, this is crazy, but it sounded so good. And I can just tell like she was really appreciative of this. And I thought, oh my God, like, we're not paying her for this. Like, she was like, no, I want to support. I love this. And then it's the fact that she was like, if you guys, you know, want to come to my show or anything, or if anything happens, like, do give me a shout. I was like, yeah, please. Like, is that even a question?
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, and they're just testament to like, yeah, exactly. It paid off, right? Now you're like best friends with Dawn Penn. No, joking.
Honestly, there was moments where she would call me randomly.
No.
And I would be so worried because obviously I'm just looking at her like an auntie, and I was like, oh, Miss Dawn Penn, is everything okay? And she'll just natter on about things like, you know, I just went to Brixton Market and I tried one of the patties and it wasn't that great. It wasn't as great as back home, but you know, it's fine. I'm going to like a little town here. Like, out of the blue, she's just having a whale of a time, the full-blown conversation. I'm just there like, yeah. Yeah, and I'm like obviously panicking because I'm like, I have work to do as well, but also Dawn Penn, so I can't be disrespectful. Like, honestly, it's insane. Like, I wish I had my old phone because there were times where if I missed her call, she'd leave me a voice note. And I remember being like, I need to save this down and clip it. Yeah. And it never happened. And I'm like,
mate.
oh, it's gone. But it's fine because I still have her number somewhere.
There you go. When's the last time you spoke to her?
Do you know what? It has been a minute. I think last year when I think she was in and out of like Reggae Land.
Okay.
So I don't know if she was performing, but I think she was around. And I think she just wanted support and just pay homage to people and everything else. So I was like, this is quite wholesome. This is cute. And we keep saying that we need to do something around it. But obviously my time at Represent has now passed. Obviously I now go there from time to time to show face and say, hey, but I generally have no business being there. However, the door is always open. You never know what can happen.
It's true. And like, yeah, you're at like, you know, the probably biggest station in the UK now, but we all start from somewhere, and Represent is like such a big part of like community radio, and as you say, it's like such a stalwart in the industry, and yeah, it's not to be sniffed at. So yeah, the fact that you're still going back there and being like, hey guys, they should be cleaning, doing the 3-hour clean for you, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. I like the way you think. We're in agreement.
But before that, you studied broadcast journalism, right, at uni? Is that what you wanted to do? You wanted to be like a radio journalist?
Do you know what? I'm going to take you on a little journey on how I actually fell into this course, because I think I fell head first. Okay. If I'm honest. Yeah, it's very random. So I was more in my artsy-fartsy bag. I used to love fine art, love a bit of textiles. And I thought to myself, with my English degree, I was like, well, clearly I love a chit-chat. I love to do a bit of writing. I love to reading. Let me combine the two. I thought, let's just do art journalism. It's great. Okay. And so that's originally what I was going out for. And I was like trying to search for it within London, because I was that scaredy cat, like late teen. Like, I don't know if I'm ready to go to like, you know, a uni outside of London. Like, what if people don't like me? So I was like, if I keep it in London, it's fine, because I can bail, and it's literally like an hour distance home or something, like hour drive, whatever. So I remember searching the net and I was like, I couldn't find anything. I was literally going from one university to the other. There was like, no, we don't do this, sorry. Or there was a time where I think there was another university that was going to hold art journalism degree, but unfortunately didn't have enough numbers, so they just cut it all together. So then I came across University of West London. I was like, okay, we don't have that, but we do have broadcast journalism. I was like, well, it's got journalism in the name, so I'll take it. And for context here, guys, the reason why I was so keen to just get a degree there and then, this is where I'm showing my age, I was the last of my year to get the 3K a year at uni. Yeah, same. Dating ourselves now. That's it. So if you kind of calculate that, I'm basically 27. So
when you factor in COVID, for sure.
You know, it did take off a couple years, so it doesn't count. Anywho, so I thought, you know what? Let me try this degree, see where I land. And I was terrified. I was like a deer in the headlights. I was seeing people that's like, yeah, no, I love to be in front of the camera. I just understand how it works. You know, I watch BBC News every day, and there's me like, oh, I just want to write a few cute articles or something. You know, I'm more like a BuzzFeed type girl. Like that was
Yeah.
kind of, you know, something
Yeah.
cutesy. And then it was like, okay, I'm clearly not connecting the dots here. And it got to the point where I was almost going to change my course until they introduced the radio one,
Mm-hmm.
which we started to do in our second year. And I was like, you know what, I'll give it a go. I like radio. You know, I grew up on it. This is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Until they was like, do you want to host your show? I was like, me? The person who hasn't spoken in a year and a half. Are you sure? Are you quite sure? And it was like, no, it's fine. I feel like you just know so much about music. We heard through the grapevine, we talked to your friends. I was like, yeah, that's my friends. This is a degree. Like this is weird. There's too much pressure. And I was like, no, I think we've got this. And I remember just jumping on the mic thinking, okay, this is scary. But then the moment we just started about talking about music, it was like I felt like I was in a room with my friends. It was like, oh my God, I love like this so and so track that was sampled by this artist, and it really like meshes well here. And then he's really his R&B bag, and I think if this collaboration worked, and everyone's like, oh my God, I don't think we've ever seen you or even hear you like speak like this or
Yeah.
ever. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't know where that came from. Sorry. Like, do not apologize. This is what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
And then I think that's where it just reignited my true passion for radio. I was like, this just makes sense. I felt so comfortable. And I think for someone who's quite introverted growing up, it was like that was the defining moment where I felt like I found my voice.
Yeah, because I feel like it's that thing of it's something that you love so much that you almost think it can't possibly be something I do for a job. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's not for me. That's for the people that are confident, that know what they're talking about. But like, it's amazing that they gave you that opportunity to just try, and they saw something in you that they knew that this would click. And I think that's wonderful. Like anyone who's lucky enough to have tutors that are like, right, just give it a go. I think it's going to work. And even if it doesn't, at least you tried. And like, it's just sparked that in you. I think that's an amazing story. That's wonderful. And you almost didn't do it. So look at that. Wow.
See, look at that.
So from there to now, you're working across different shows at One Extra, right? Like it's not always breakfast, but is that your main one? What are the ones that you tend to work on?
So now, as like currently a freelancer across the One Extra building, I feel like I do like multiple shows now. So I could be across breakfast to drive time to specialist shows. I think for me, I'm more of a specialist girly because I like for people to dig into the archives, and then it's like turn an old school classic into a very like niche body of work. And I think you can only find that after 7 p.m. shows. You know, not to say like breakfast or drive time is slept on. I think the interaction engagement as a listener is honestly perfection, because that's where like the real community is at. That's like that's for the yappers. That's what I like to call it. You know, it's like Nadia J, an amazing presenter, beautiful inside and out, knows her work, loves R&B, great DJ. She knows what the people want. So she knows how to deliver a link, and she will just be like, what's everyone doing in the morning? You know, texting, and we'll just get the yappers coming in. I'm talking voice notes that's like 2 minutes long. And it's like, well, Nadia J, I'm glad you asked. Basically, I just had my friend come in and, you know, I had so much going on. And you're like, wow, they got a lot to say.
Yeah.
You know, and it's beautiful because that's what makes great radio. It makes great content. It's just
100%.
giving community, and you generally have people that's like, I literally wake up in the morning and I cannot wait to turn on the radio and to hear your voice and to get involved with the games and the features and just everything else in between. Like that is the hub for the yappers. And then going back to like specialist shows, that's more for the music heads, the upcoming DJs, the ones that's like, oh my God, if I could have my dream mix, this is what it'll sound like. That's the home for them. So that's what I love about One Extra. I think there's literally something out there for everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely so varied. So, I mean, as you're working across everything, what does your day-to-day look like as a sort of freelance producer on these shows?
Oh gosh, what a question. I feel like the structure is almost a suggestion. Mainly just because I don't know where I will be. So it's like I could be having a whale of a time across the amazing DJ Target and work across that for weeks. I might then get a call literally towards the end of the week and be like, hey, so love what you did there. Track sounds amazing. Interview sounds fantastic. How do you feel about doing drive time tomorrow? And it's like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen. And that is literally my day to day. So when people are like, oh, what's your week looking like? I don't know. You tell me.
That's mad. How do you keep on top of it? Like, it sounds like there are deadlines that can be super quick turnaround. How do you kind of prioritize your time?
I think the best way I do it, I think given the fact that I've been there for now 5 years, and I naturally over communicate to a lot of people. And I think I've built really good relationships with people, both inside and outside the building. So I think I'm able to kind of navigate just based off realistic deadlines. So if you're going to ask me to do breakfast at like the 11th hour, it's a straight no for me, dog.
Yeah.
I need my sleep.
Yeah.
I need to make sure everything is packed up tight, those packages are ready to go, because when the TX date comes, that's it. There's no, oh, can I have a quick list? No, it's going out now for the world to hear. You know, no pressure.
Yeah.
You know, just a couple million people. So
no, that is so fair. I think and TX date is transmission date for anyone who doesn't know. But yeah, like with the kind of communication, like it's so important because you can feel pressure to say yes to everything because you're in an environment where you're working with the coolest people and like the most well-known DJs and you want to keep everyone happy. But actually, in order to keep people happy, you need to set your own boundaries and go, look, I can do my best work if you give me, you know, a night's sleep, if you give me some notice. Like, it's literally the least you could do. Do you know what I mean?
honestly, but I do think it's quite hard trying to set your days up as a freelancer. I think especially when you're new to the game. I think this is going to sound somewhat hypocritical, but I think when you're starting out as a freelancer, it is very much a, yes, I'm going to make myself available. Just because, again, you have to look at yourself as a brand. And also, you know, it's producers that's going to look at you and be like, okay, if you're somebody worth keeping, you know, let's see what type of work you can bring to the table. And also, I think as a freelancer, times are now changing. I think back in the day, it was, we need you. And I was like, no, you need me. And I think if you have that mentality earlier on, you'll notice the bookings will just keep coming because it's like you're actually bringing something to the table. So say, for example, you're an aspiring DJ and you're thinking, oh, I only DJ at like local pubs and birthdays. No. Hype that up. That should be like the main thing on your CV because they're going to say, oh, you DJ. They're going to think, okay, you have the connections, you know your music. You know, if anything goes wrong, or let's say they might need a DJ cover, they now can count on you because they know that's what you do outside of the place. And I think I cannot stress enough, like side hustles are imperative. Like if you really want to make a stamp or just make your name known, you got to shout to the high heavens. I think, I'm trying to think who said this to me. I think my old mentor, he was so funny, very unconventional, but I think that's what I loved about him. He was like, in every room, if you got to deliver a pitch or you're sitting in a meeting, or even if you're starting a new show, you have to brag about yourself like the Americans do. Like, that's it. Keep going. Like, you have to say, I am the best. I know what I'm doing. This is what I can do. I'm going to change your life. You know, it's really that energy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it's hard as British people. We're more, I won't even say humble. Humble's the wrong word. Just more polite, I guess. You know, when you are in the room and you don't want to be like hyping yourself too much. Do you know what I mean? You're like, I don't want to blow my own horn, but it's like actually, but everyone else is. So why can't you as well? Because you're not putting anyone else down, raising your own talents up. You're just saying, here's how I work with other people. We can do cool stuff together, right? But you still need to make them know that you're confident enough to go into that room and be like, I am capable, not, can I do this, please?
And I think if you really think about it, politeness is killing the bag. Have that in the forefront. Yeah.
I like that. Is such that is so true. Oh my God. So so everyone can get the sort of whole picture of your journey in the industry. After your degree, you went to Sony for a bit in their radio promo team.
I did.
And what did that entail? What was that role kind of like for you?
You know what? It wasn't so different to what I was doing at One Extra. So funny enough, I had both jobs coexisting because I secured bookings at the same time.
Oh.
It was a really great year for me, actually. Not to toot my own horn, but it was like
we're tilting.
That's it. I mean, tilt. But no, it was really great because it was like, how it happened is I was just producing a show at One Extra, and I saw another radio presenter / producer across different community radios, because I feel like we're all one big community, and he was coming in and out of the building. And my first thought was, well, wait a minute, what are you doing here? Like, you work at so and so, and goes, oh, don't you know? I'm a radio plugger. I was like, yeah, what's that? And he was like, that's fine. I'll break it down to you. He said, I'm basically working across indies and major labels, and I'm basically servicing tracks from them, and I'm just locking in the interviews, making sure everything sounds sweet on air. And I was like, that sounds so cool. How do I do that? He was like, just apply. Like, there's so many. I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I remember just giving it a go, and I thought, yeah, I just started in radio. There's no way. And I just remember an email being like, no, we actually want you. You're saying you just started at One Extra? Yeah, come on in. I was like, oh, okay, well, looks like that's starting. So did that for a year, and yeah, it was amazing. The team were like super sweet. I think what I loved about it the most was I didn't feel that different to what I was doing at One Extra. It was just another POV, essentially. So I was sitting in the meetings and understanding, how campaigns worked, and how there was like so many chefs, and how many things that had to, played a huge part on just making this track global hit. Because I didn't know how that worked. I was just like, oh, it sounds great on radio, that sounded pretty. But then it was like, no, honey, there's so many levels to this. We need to make sure it's been ingested, that it's been pitched, that we have the meetings with like the main faces across different radio stations. And I was like, oh, I see. So I was just literally here taking notes. But then it was quite funny, because then anytime One Extra come out, they'll see a little spark in my eyes, like, do you want to talk to them? And I was like, well, yeah. I was literally there last week. I don't mind. So it was just great to be able to be like on the other side, to be like, hey guys, I got some new music. And yes, I will be playing it when you see me next week.
I love that.
Yeah, like the both jobs were coexisting. It just meshed well. It was amazing.
Yeah,
I was really having my cake and eat it.
Yeah, it sounds like a sort of perfect match. But also, did that sort of give you a bit more pressure to get things across the line because you already had that in? Or was it kind of just like, there is a level of, if they don't want to play it, they just won't play it?
I think it was that as well. I think, given I was working with like these radio pluggers who've been in the game for like 20 plus years, they were kind of looking at me as, oh, okay, she's very new. She probably doesn't understand how it works, which was the case for the first 2 months, but I'm a fast learner. So I was like, okay, great. I know how this works now.
Yeah.
But I think the team having their own set KPIs, I think it was very simple to be like, step in a room and they'd be like, you do know why we couldn't play that particular track? I was like, yeah, I do. It's fine. So I think there wasn't any pressure in that sense, which is great. But I do feel like from the label side, it's like, they're your friends. Sure, you can work something out. Take him to Dashim or something. I'm sure they'd like that. It was like, okay, boss.
But then so if you're working both simultaneously, were you full-time at Sony on their radio promo team, or was it sort of a freelance situation as well?
So I was doing the internship there, but then so then at One Extra, I just had to make sure I signed a little cheeky conflict of interest, like, we're fine, I'm not doing anything dodgy, it's okay, we're all good here. And then I remember just kind of taking my foot off the gas there and being like, look, I'm still on the books, but I don't think I picked up any shifts for a good few months to a year, just because everything at label, as you already know, it's very fast paced. There's a lot going on. You've got a roster probably bigger than anything. So you're like, you know what, I'm going to prioritize this. But I think what was nice is my understanding of how the label actually worked and how impactful it was on both ends. Because I think on radio side, we only count for something called radar numbers, which is where you can see the listenerships, you know, where it's coming from, the demographic. But then it was like from the label side, it was like, oh, I see how this is quite impactful for you guys too. So it was nice, because then it just meant I was learning so much quicker on both sides simultaneously.
Yeah, that's an amazing sort of, what do they call it, happenstance, because I don't feel like it's very common that someone would do both at the same time. So that's really, really cool. So then you kind of, is it a sort of pivot into the like marketing, because you went to Warner and went into their sort of marketing team? How did that come about? Because obviously that, like, it kind of goes hand in hand, like promo marketing, but what was the kind of decision behind making that switch?
I think for me, it was immersing myself more in the major label world, kind of sitting in the meetings, really getting to know the artist, you know, their vision, you know, from the label standpoint, really fleshing out the artist proposition. And dare I say, I was almost envious of the marketing team, because I felt like my journey was only just radio and then somewhat of the DSP world. Because obviously at that point we noticed that radio was moving in more of a digital space. So then I was lucky enough to speak to the Spotify's, the Apples, the Amazon, and that was a great experience too, because I really understood what it looked like from a digital standpoint, and you know, how many streams and how that also impacts the artist. But I think for me it was like how we used to do our meetings. It was like whatever department had something to say, we only delivered from that point. And then once we were done, it was like, okay, off you pop. Now you can go back and service the track. And then it almost felt like starting a movie and not seeing how it ends. And I felt like that's where the envy started to kick in, because I was like, well, the marketing team get to see it from start to finish. You know, I'd love to be on the artist journey. You know, it's like, I remember it like it was yesterday, where I got to do my first promo run, and I got to sit in a lift with Coffee, and I got to see her throughout all the radio stations. So obviously took her to One Extra, which was nice to kind of flex with my friends. But then also just to be like, guys, just know I'm not working today, but I'm doing a different job. No pictures, no pictures. So that was quite fun. Just seeing her interacting with the team and everything, but then also just going to other stations. We went to Kiss that day, and then we also went to Global. So it was quite a busy day, but it was nice to kind of almost be like a chaperone and then someone to talk to off air. And it was like, there was so many like gems and stuff she was dropping. It was amazing. It was like, you know, even her telling me how she made toast, and how, you know, she woke up one day and she was like, I'm really grateful for life. You know, this means something to me. And so the track for me was that impactful, because it meant I was the voice for people who maybe couldn't put it in words or put it in a song. And that was very important for me. And I was like, that was so sweet. And I'm thinking, you said all of this off air to someone you barely know from the label, you know? And it was just then like, I want to know so much more. It was like, I wanted to know your first tracks. I want to know what could have been on a remix, because you don't get to really see those parts. I think working in radio, it was like, here's the finished piece. We want you to service it to as many as people, and then report back to us how well it went. That was very much our job in a nutshell. Whereas marketing, it was like, no, you get to be so much more than that. You wear so many hats, you know? You could be like their therapist one day, their big sister, even like maybe act as their artist manager. It's really nice on just like how many POVs you almost get to see and reenact, just because you're in their presence and they have that much trust with you. And it's like, you know, I want to be the one to kind of flesh that out. I would love to kind of have that creative freedom, that autonomy to say, this is my campaign idea, and I think this would be amazing based on how much I know about you, and you know, how we can flesh it out and how the world can see you. And so that was my initial point, where I was like, I think I need to pivot, guys. I think marketing might be for a bit of me, you know. I've already got the gift of the gab, you know, I've got the connections. Now all I want to do is just make a really amazing campaign for an artist who's probably wanted this their whole life.
So how did you make that sort of pivot from radio promo to marketing?
Yeah, so do you know what? It was, I'm not even gonna lie to you, in the beginning, it did start off as a very hard sell to a lot of major label girlies and guys, just because I think they're like, yeah, cool, on paper, you've got the experience, you know how it works. However, we've not actually seen you roll out a campaign. It also doesn't help that you don't have a degree in marketing. nor do you ever worked a job in
Yeah.
marketing. So it's
Right.
like, where did you come from? It was that kind of vibe. And it was
Yeah.
like, I just very passionate, you know, and it was like really hard to try and flesh it out. And I remember taking myself back, being like, do I really want this? And then I said, no, I do, because every time a role will come up or advertised, I was like, no, I feel like I can do this,
Mm.
because I do think if you're passionate about something, all you need is the know-how, and I think that will just mesh well, and before you know it, you're doing campaigns like you've always been doing it. So I think it was a case where a lovely lady called Anya just kind of gave me a chance. So
Yeah.
I think she saw the passion, the way I spoke about the artists I worked with, doing the promo runs. Like I said, I mentioned I worked across like Coffee. I even randomly did like Atomic Kitten. Like I worked with such a plethora of like artists. I think she was like, oh, it almost sounds like you should have done marketing from the get-go, but it sounds like you just used your radio experience to get into the plugin world. And I was like, yeah, yeah. Took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what happened. So it was quite funny. We spoke about that for a little bit, because I think that was her concern too. It was like, why marketing? And it was just that I really vibe off seeing people win. And I think there's nothing worse than you're seeing an artist and it's like, I can see you existing in so many places right now. I can see you being beyond the colors, or, you know, going on that world tour. I know how you can get there. I know the steps you should take. Hell, I even know who your target audience is, or how you could even build on that. And it's like, all you need is someone who's very passionate about the artist and the genre, and who's already in the spaces. You're already halfway there, in my opinion. And I think when she kind of heard how passionate I spoke about it, she was like, okay, well, I'll give you a chance. Like, why not?
Yeah.
So then, and that the rest was history, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Because you smashed it, and like you just needed someone to take that chance. And again, it's just so wonderful that someone did. And as they say, it was meant to be, right? So like when you were, so it was Warner Records you went into when you were at Warner, was that right?
So kind of started at Parlophone first.
Okay.
And that was, again, another hard sell, because then they were like, well, I'm not going to lie to you, darling, but you're not going to be hearing much trappers or rappers across us. And it was like, oh, George, why can't you just see that I deserve to be here?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
obviously, I had to keep myself composed and be professional and be like, well, I have an eclectic mix, actually. I have, I started at radio too. And they were like, oh, is that so? I said, well, yes. I was listening to the Beatles. I was listening to Sting. I was listening to all of them, actually. I have,
So do you think they were judging a book by the cover a little bit there?
A little bit, because I think they were kind of concerned as to whether or not I would be the right fit just based off the genre alone. And I think this is why, and again, for anyone who's listening, I think it's important to really sell yourself and let people know that you are genre fluid. Because I think if you put yourself in a box, all they're going to do is throw you artists that they supposedly think that you're going to smash just based off your background or who was the last person you listened on Spotify. And I think that's just definitely not the case. I think you can be inspired by so many different artists in just different like genres, different pools. Like, for example, like Olivia Dean, like I think she has been smashing it. Grammy award winning, Brit winning, like it's crazy. And I think this is a real testament to like a lot of Black spaces to be like, I don't need to be that R&B girl or that rapper to exist in these spaces. I should be this big and still be getting the love from many different like walks of life.
Yeah.
I think that's just a really important message to spread to everybody.
I totally agree. It was, yeah, because it's definitely a trap that labels fall into of you're Black, so you're R&B, you're Black, so you're hip hop. And it's like, I always use the example of Rachel Chinariri. Like when she first sort of signed, they were marketing her as this R&B artist, but like you listen to her and it's like, this is like indie pop. This is not R&B. And like, and she said so herself. She, there was that whole sort of campaign that she did maybe like 2024, 2025, where it was literally like, guys, this is my sound. The sound I was doing before, I kind of had to do that to kind of get the bag a little bit, but we're here now and I can express myself. But it's just like an added struggle that you have to go through depending on your background. It's such a shame, but at least you have people like yourself who are eclectic, who know what they're talking about and don't fall into that trap of going, I assume this about you, so this is what we're going to do. We need more people like Khadiee who just go, right, I've heard you, I'm hearing you, I see you, what can we do? So when you were at Warner, as in Warner Music Group, there's many labels under that name, what kind of campaigns did you work on? Did you have any favourites that you worked on?
I'm glad you asked. It's my favorite question. And I feel like you know the answer.
Yeah, I feel like I do.
I mean, it just really goes back to when I started at Parlophone, to be honest. That's how great of a campaign it was. So I took on the amazing UK R&B artist Manelia, who is now
Yes.
MOBO award winning.
Yes, she is.
I'm clapping again for those who can't hear. Yep. Put respect on her name. And that to me will forever be one of my favorite, if not the best campaign I single-handedly put together. Just because I was always a fan of listening to her music, even from when I was at Represent. I was like, oh my God, I love this Manelia girl. She sounds so cool. Like, can we play Senseless? Oh my God, she got this new track called Say Yeah. It just sounds like girly pop, and it sits with me. Like, I'm a baddie too. And it was fun just to kind of like fangirl and be like, okay, this is cool. And then to jump on that same label and see her name sit under my roster, I was gagged. I was like, oh my God, is younger Khadiee going to be able to keep it together when I have my very first meeting with her to be like, hi, I'm new to the marketing team. Like, I love your music.
But I'm sure she would have loved that.
No, honestly, it was really giving, like, if you know Mean Girls, like, Danny DeVito, I love your work. I was like, keep it together, please. First impression, last impression. Remember that. So yeah, it was just amazing just meeting her, and just to see she was very much a very down to earth girl. She was a bit younger than me, but very wise. She knew what she wanted. She knew how she wanted to market herself. You know, she was even aware of her triggers, her setbacks, and she spoke quite openly about on a few podcasts in the past, which I loved. And I thought to myself, this girl right here is gonna go places, because not only does she have the look and obviously the sound, I mean, falsetto queen, but to be like, no, I'm actually very down to earth. Like, we can talk on any topic, and I promise you, we're gonna have a time.
Yeah.
And I just thought, this is amazing. Like, I can't believe it. Like, it was almost that moment where it's like, not being friends with the artist I work with. Like, is this allowed? Do I need to sign a document? Like, I don't know how this works. But no, it was amazing. And so it was nice to see her vulnerable, but still be like, no, I'm still going to power through. Like, I've never seen work ethic quite like hers. I mean, I remember even during the first rollouts when we was doing like closure tapes, and I remember even just the first single being Closure, and she's not put out music at this point for years. So she was quite hesitant even to touch the studio. I was like, oh my God, this is very strange to me, but we're going to do it. Why? Because I'm an artist. I was born to do this. And to see that drive would be like, yeah, no, I want to back it 110%. Because for me, it's like when I see that fire, that hunger, it's like, yeah, no, I want to match that same energy. And I did that immediately. And, you know, when the first single came out, I could see her being like, oh my God, I didn't think it was going to pop off like it did. Like, she got all the radio looks. I wonder how that happened. She got like shows booked off the back of it. You know, she had podcast girlies that wanted to speak to her. It was just amazing. It was almost like an explosion of just excitement. Because people are like, we were waiting for you. And she wasn't expecting anything. And I think that's what made it more just like that bit more humble, more just like, oh, I'm so happy for you. Like, you deserve all the flowers. So it was just an amazing rollout from that. And then, you know, she got from Closure Tapes, she got her first Billboard moment with like +44, and it was just so wholesome. She brought her mum and her son down there to take the pictures, to be like, look at me, I'm a Billboard girl.
I bet it was amazing to see the impact of your work as well. Like, you must get so much job satisfaction from seeing the results of your ideas and your work ethic.
Oh my God, yes. Because I think if anyone knows this who is maybe starting out in the industry, or even just any corporate job, when you're like the small person amongst the big bosses, everything's quite daunting. You know, you're even worried about if you're coming with too much energy or not enough energy. And it's like that initial pitch when I think I went over to Warner Records, I think, I'm not even gonna lie, I definitely lost sleep over it. I was like, okay, I have to make sure that I actually sound like I know what I'm talking about. Because obviously I do. But then it's like, oh my God, like I'm doing it in front of the president, and just everybody is like, wow, this is a big deal. And it's like, yeah, no, I'm representing her. So then I was even more pressure because like, I really wanted her to win. So I was like, okay, I've got to do this. And that initial pitch, and I had the videos, and I just remembered having this amazing Canva deck. And I remember just sitting there like, yeah, she's going to do this, and she's amazing, and her sound is this. She's going to collaborate with this. And I was like, oh, yeah, engaged. I love it. I love it. Yes. Smile, nod. Yes. It was all of that. And I was like, I did something great. And I think it's quite funny actually, because I remember dealing with my very first curveball as a marketeer, and it was very much, you know, artist management, A&R. I remember having our internal meet before our initial big meet, and they gave me this side eye and then looked at me. I'm like, something has happened, and I was not in the room for it. And it's a safe space. So please say what's on your mind, guys. And they were like, so we did a thing. Whilst we was in Sweden, we may have tripped and fell into the studio. I was like, oh, do tell. Also, apologies for the trip and the falling. You know, it happens to the best of us. And they were like, yeah, so we've got this new amazing track called My Man, and it just sounds like a hit. And I know we had the rollout, I know we spoke to the partners, but hear me out. I think you need to have a listen. I remember sitting there like boss girl mode, like, I'm not gonna like it. It doesn't work with me. You're messing up my plans. And I remember hearing it on the speaker in the Warner office being like, oh no, do you know what? I love this. I didn't want to love it, but I loved it.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, okay, now I'm going to have that annoying conversation with the bosses, being like, so remember that deck when I said we're going to do this? We're kind of not going to do that anymore.
And what was the amount of notice that you got from rolling it out and your plans to, we've got this new track we want to go with instead?
So I think they were nice enough to give me 6 weeks.
Oh, well.
So it wasn't too bad, you know. So for those who know, the pitching window across DSPs, they're a bit lenient. They can be a bit like, well, you know what, it's fine. You may have played us something, but if you want to swap it out, you know, now's the time with assets, you know, hopefully mixed mastered. So once I got the confirmation from the team, like, you did do those stuff at least. It was like, oh yeah. I was like, oh. So it's not too bad. It's not too scary.
Okay.
So then I remember going back to the meeting and being like, right, guys, we've got a summer anthem. You lots are going to love it. My Man. It's going to be played everywhere. I promise you. The girls are going to love it. The guys are going to love it. The girls and guys that get it. Like, please, you're going to love it. And I was like, okay, do it. Handle it with care. Just be sure to promise me we're going to get the same looks as promised. I said, I'll do you one better. We're going to do that. And we're going to be at an awards night at some point. I promise you.
Okay.
I promise you. And I remember it like it was, honestly, I remember putting a deck together, and literally one of the things that we put on is we'll receive a MOBO award.
Wow.
And I remember being like, not me speaking this into existence.
Yes.
This is crazy.
That's
but obviously at the time it was just like, just go, fire. And I remember being like to all the DSP partners, they was like, look, it's fine. We're a fan of Amelia. We know we love her work. She sounds amazing. You can count on us. We love the track. Boom. So for me, it was like a tick box. It was like, okay, events team, what are we thinking? We got some movement on it. There's like, yeah, we can probably line something up in summer. Great. Then international team, how are we feeling? What? The Americans love it? Fantastic. Let me know how that goes. If you need liners, let me know. So I was really working overtime. I had the fingers in all the pies. I remember being like, I don't mind losing sleep. Do you know why? Because I feel like this is going to be a banger. So there it is. And then I remember being like, do you know what I haven't tapped in? I'm not tapped in the sync world as yet. And I thought, has anyone spoke on it? And they were like, no, actually. And funny enough,
story of our life at Sync.
Yeah, honestly, we won't get into that too much. Do not worry. But I just thought, for context, just because this was essentially the catalyst for her success. Because what would happen is, a lot of times in major labels, it was always an afterthought, which was quite sad, because a lot of times that's where you make the money.
Yes.
So it was like, guys, I think we're missing a trick here. So I remember being like, summer anthem, you're talking about My Man, My Man. Has anyone thought about Love Island? I would love to pitch it for Love Island. And I was like, I should have my timbers. What a great idea. I was like, well, yeah. I thought this was in everybody's calendars. Anyway. So I thought, don't worry, I'll take it upon myself. I remember speaking to the Sync team. I remember being like, can you tell people how PRS works? Because artist management don't seem to know, nor do they care. It's going to stop the process. So over to you guys. So I remember having that meeting, and I was like, oh, right, let's get on to it. I was like, please, unlabeled copy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not sent via text, preferably. Um, but, you know,
Honestly.
honestly, we've had a time in that place. So I remember sending it, and they were like, you know, it was a very long process. And I remember just waiting, being like, any minute now, they're going to let me know. They're going to let me know. And then it wasn't until like 3 months later, it was like, they said it so casually, but they didn't know. They just rocked everybody's world. They was like, I hope you know, yeah, we got it playing in the opening scene just after Casa Amor episode. I said, after Casa Amor. If you watch Love Island, everybody knows it all went down. Everyone is glued to their seat to find out what happens next.
100%.
Why did this coupling even happen? How is it
Mm-hmm.
going to go on? Did they know about the cheating fiasco?
Mm-hmm.
And you're sitting there like, oh, it's going to pop off. But at the same time, I'm thinking, even now from like a marketeer point, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be the first song that's getting played.
Right.
Everyone's going to
This
listen
is the
in.
prime time spot.
No,
Absolutely.
I remember forcing my whole team, who was Team Manelia, across all like the campaigns, be like, everyone's going to watch from this screen. We're all going to get our dinner. We're going to sit here and we're going to watch it. Okay? I don't care if you don't watch Love Island, John, or whoever you are. You're going to learn today. Thank you. Thank you. And I remember having it in big screen, and we just watching Love Island live, and it played, and I remember just like fangirling and screaming like, it's happening, like it's getting played. And I shit you not, it was like the longest track that got played across the episode, 1 minute and 8 seconds to be exact. And I remember being like, oh my God, this is insane. And I remember just jumping straight to Twitter, straight to Insta, and it did the thing. It did what it needed to do. I went on Twitter and I just typed in her name, and I was like, oh my God, is that Manelia? Oh my God, is that the same girl? Song say yeah. Oh my God, this eats down. I love it. And it was just every day, I was like, every second even, I was like refreshing. And I was like, oh my God, there's more tweets. Oh my God, yeah, there's videos as well. Oh my God. And then what made it so beautiful, it almost became like the R&B Avengers. Like all the R&B girlies also jumped on it. We had the Bellas, the Mia May. I was like, oh my God, this is great. They're like, oh, girl, Manelia's doing what she needs to do. And I was like, you don't know how great this is going to look in my report tomorrow. Like, it was just sensational. And then I thought, you know what other channels could it possibly have touched? And I thought, I'll humor myself. Let me go on Shazam. It was there. I could not believe it. I didn't think I was going to see it, but I did. It sat on 80 at like UK Shazam charts. I was like,
Yeah. 80 out of 200, by the way, guys. Like, that is shooting up there. It's amazing. After one play on, well, maybe two if you watch it on, catch up.
And I'm glad you said that, because catch up, it jumped by an extra 20 spaces.
Hello. Oh my gosh. That is an amazing achievement. Like, and that's all from you going, did anyone think about this? Props to you. And now I'm clapping now, because you just, like when someone is just so on it, but like because of the love, because of the knowledge, and like, yeah, the appreciation you have. That was an amazing story. I love that so much. It's so inspiring. And so that's like a highlight for you. When you were back in like, you can see I did a bit of stalking. Back in like 2019, I think it was, something like that. When you did the BBC Radio 6 music internship.
Oh, yes. What a throwback.
Yeah, right? So that was like 2 months. What was the main thing that you got out of that placement?
Do you know what? Main thing, closed mouths don't get fed. I learned that very quickly. So how the Six Music thing came about, I attended, this might even be a cheeky plug for them, but Creative Access, if you know, you know.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I think they was hosting an event, and I was like in this weird in between of, I love represent radio, I'm so obsessed with it, but I'd also like to get paid. I'd also like to have a campaign that I could put my name on it, something that I've done, and I was like, what's out there? And I remember searching, and it was like Radio Day with like Creative Access. I was like, oh, well, I could do that. And I remember I was at a job I really hated. So every 10 seconds, I was finding any excuse to leave. I think at one point it got so bad, I'm almost certain I said a goldfish died. Like, I just really didn't care. And they were like, yeah, go on. Because I think we could just see like, yeah, she's going to leave any moment now. I'm just waiting for the notice. So it was great. So literally midday, I remember leaving my boring ass job, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to this event. And there was like this amazing woman. She no longer works there, but honestly, hands down, loved her. Her name was Claire. And she was basically like head editor of like Six Music at the time, and her like just her whole energy, it really just sat with me. I was like, I love this woman down. I could tell she's very passionate about radio. It's not just for the checks, it's not just for the listenership, but it's more so she just wants to make great radio, great content for the listeners. And I thought, that's exactly what I want to do, on a bigger scale. Like, how do I be like you? So I remember talking to her like, hey, can I do some stuff with you? And she's like, she saw that I'd worked for Represent. She saw I did like student radio as well. And she's like, this is all great, but I'm super busy, but do drop me an email. And you know what that means? It's like, oh, I've been here before. It's fine. Whatever.
I get it.
Yeah, cool. I still tried. So I remember being like, okay, sharpen up my CV, send an email. And I thought, okay, let me crack on with my day. And it did happen, unfortunately. Didn't hear back for weeks, for months. And then I thought, you know what? I am going to follow up. I'm not going to just let it die, because I really like that thing. I love the event. I love the whole concept of being able to be proud of a show you work across. And so I remember just going back in my inbox being like, no, we're going to revive this conversation. And like, hey, you might not remember, but I went to this event and you said to drop me an email, and I did. And I'm waiting for this moment. And honestly, it was almost like a dissertation. Like, yes, you said you was going to promise me this, and I really want it to happen. You said it this time, it's passed. I've got things going on. And I thought, oh my God, what if she blocks me? What if she reports me? Like, I really just wilded out an email. Like, how unprofessional. And this is before the undo button, guys. This is before the undo button on Gmail. So I really had to sit there and be like, any moment now, I'm going to get a crazy ass email. I just didn't know. It was so bad. I remember for that whole hour, I was just too afraid to leave my laptop. I didn't think I.
Oh, mate.
Like, honestly, it was crazy. I just started like, oh God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?
The instant regret.
No, it was that. And then literally, I think in like 2 hours later, she got back to me. And when you look at it and you're like, I'm too scared to open it. I'm too scared. Someone do it for me. I'm too scared. I can't do it. And then I was like, you know what? What have I got to lose at this point? I'll just go back to my boring job if anything.
Yeah.
And I opened it. She was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. We need to lock something in. I've been so bad on emails. Are you free next week? I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh, like, honestly, it was that moment. I just could not stop smiling. I was like, it worked.
Yeah.
Crashing out worked. So guys, my message for you today. No, I'm joking.
That is like one of the only times that would actually work for someone.
Think about this. Don't while out to your bosses now. Please. Think about it. You have bills to pay. You're grown. Thank you.
Doing that placement, is that where you kind of made your contacts or your sort of personality known, just being in the sort of BBC Radio building, and then you kind of got freelance work from there? Is that how that worked?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a different time, because that was when Wogan House was still separated from the major like BBC. So even though it was across the road, they still had their own setup in their own way. Like, communication was very different. And I remember walking in that building being like, okay, I don't know anyone, but I'm here to learn. And obviously I've listened to the shows. I know who I love listening to. And I remember my first show I worked across, like shadowing, was Lauren Laverne.
Oh, nice.
I love, her sound was just amazing. And I remember I had to meet this producer called Shola, and she was just super understanding. I think in her mind, dare I say, she's probably thinking, oh, it's just another person trying to get the BBC name on their CV, probably not interested, probably doesn't know who Lauren Laverne is. I remember sat there and I was just giving her like a list of shows I listened to. I was like, I loved when she brought in this artist and that artist, and even the way she brought that bed up, and I love the way she used that instrumental to match the same energy with it. She was like, oh no, I'm in the presence of an actual radio lover. Oh no, I'm sat.
Yeah.
Yes, tell me more. And I was like, yeah, so how do you get the fader up just right, just before like the news comes in, and then you bring it back down to like the bed? Who decides on the instrumental and all of that? And it's like, oh yeah, I can tell you about all of that. And I could tell she was now engaged. And she was like, do you have time after the show? I was like, yeah, we can talk. Yeah. And in my mind I'm thinking, I impressed you. I know. So it was like an amazing moment. And I remember I sat outside the studio, just watched the whole show. And then Lauren Laverne did this amazing thing where she buzzed in and she was like, do you want to come in, darling? I was like, I was like, well, obviously it's me. I'm the only one here. So then, because obviously it was like it was a morning show. So I remember walking in and she was like, oh, I heard you listen to my show. Like, is there anything you love in particular? I was like, yeah, I love the fact that you spun the new, like, Loyal Kana. Like, he had a new show, a song out at the time. It's like, yeah, no, it was really great. I was like, yeah, like, how did that come across? Like, did you have the interview with him? How did it come across? Were you always a fan? So I really just like asking all the questions as if to say I was the presenter. And she was like, no, I love this. Please come back again. And that did happen. So I was on the show for like a couple days, and then obviously it came to an end. But it was like, staying in touch, which obviously I did do. But because I was like almost like this, I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it, because I respect myself. I almost became like this lovable stalker, if you wish. I don't know. That's the best I can do. Sorry. It's after hours. I'm tired.
Persistent, some would say. Persistent.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
I was very persistent. There we are. Thank you. Thank you, Saskia. I needed that. So yes, I remember being like, is there any more work for me to do? Like, I'm really intrigued. And I was like, well, honey, we're more concerned that we've not seen you leave this desk. And you've been across here since the breakfast show. And Steve Lamack is now on, which means we're approaching evening. So, you're good to go. It's fine. I was like, but I really want to stay. And I was like, oh my God, someone give her something to do. And then I remember Claire coming back being like, how's it going, hon? You all right? You make your friends? I said, oh yeah, I really love it here. And it's like, right, yeah. So I've been told. So, but that's okay. We love an eager beaver. Tell you what, I spoke to my friends at Radio 2 and they will have you. Yeah, how's that sound? We'll put you on the freelance pool and you can do as many shifts there as you want starting next week. I was like, I'm getting paid now. And they were like, yes, honey, anything to let you leave the building for today. It was given that. And I was like, okay, you got it. So yeah, and then the rest is history. Moved on to Radio 2, worked on Zoe Ball. She was lovely. I managed to write scripts for them. It was just an absolute amazing scene. Just to see her guest game. I'm trying to think, the last guest I saw her have, I think she had Take That On.
Oh yeah.
And that was amazing. So I was there sitting there like, oh my God, not them playing the bangers. Like literally just sitting there like singing together, like, is she back? Is she back? I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm a fan. I know your discography. And it was like, and I'm only like getting pictures with them as well and seeing Zoe Ball, like being the ultimate fan. It's just to say I was not getting paid on that shift. So I learned a lot. Let's put it that way.
That sounds absolutely amazing. What a way to kind of like hit the ground running and again, but that is testament to your love for radio. And yeah, I've just loved listening to your stories so much. Well, I saw that recently, like literally 12th February 2026, the government, yes, we're talking about the government now, guys, they kicked off a review to safeguard the future of radio because, as you said earlier, like radio is kind of, or listeners have moved away from AM and FM formats in favour of like digital and online platforms. But I will say, but they're still listening. Like, as you've said throughout this, there's still that community. People are still having their routines, listening to their favourite shows. But in the wake of streaming and individual music discovery, that where you don't have to rely on a DJ on the airwaves to say you need to listen to this, why do you think radio remains as popular as it is?
I'll be honest, I genuinely feel like it's because we have created a safe pool of just for listeners, and I think they've grown up listening to us, and I think a lot of our target audience, believe it or not, or maybe you can believe, they are quite older, so we don't really have many Gen Zs being like, oh my God, I would love to hear the clean version of Cardi B. Like, they're not doing that. We know this and it's fine, we've accepted that. The best we can do, and I guess the most reactionary thing we can do, is just post the top snippets and stuff on TikTok or Instagram. That way we're still, hitting some form of metrics and we can still like track it. But I think realistically, if we're talking about live radio, I'm talking waking up, really engaged, calling in, texting in. I have to give it to, dare I say, like, it varies from the boomers to the Gen X lot.
Mm.
I think they are the ones that's really keeping us employed. So thank you. Um, and again, people were saying, "Oh, but it's outdated. It's this," and I'm like, I beg to differ, because a prime example, and obviously this is one of our competitors, but Kiss took history off FM, thinking that they was going to get better numbers if they just went straight digital. And unfortunately, what they noticed is that their numbers plummeted. Like, everyone was literally going for history.
Yeah.
So when they took it off air, everyone's like, well, where am I going now? And you remember, we're dealing with the boomers to Gen X lot. They're like, I don't want to do digital. You know, I find joy in turning on my radio. Some people still have possessions of actual radio.
Yeah.
So it is like, you know what I mean? So it's like, for them, it's like, you've now messed up my whole routine. I almost feel lost. Like, I don't want to get with the kids. I don't want to find a new artist through TikTok or stream on Spotify and pre-save. Like, that's our generation, which again, I love. I'm here for it. I've found so many amazing, unique artists through the likes of TikTok, through DSPs.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. And I think they both can coexist. I think it's just really, this is where I think the groundwork when it comes to knowing who your target audience are, like who they, you know, where they live, what they're doing, what's their consumer habits. This all plays a huge part into what makes us still relevant. And I think the moment you know that, that's where you really got to hone in and be like, okay, if this is what these guys like, we'll just expand on it. I think, don't get me wrong, I think it's still very important to tap into the younger generations and, you know, other form of platforms. That's all well and good. But I think if you've got a good thing going, it's more so, how can we still expand? How can we grow with that, with the times? Because you've seen it already. I mean, Radio 2 is one of the biggest radio stations.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've not really changed their format. You know, it's still very much, we're going to play the cheesy jingles. We're going to have, you know, the corny stories from the Yummy Mummies.
Yeah.
We're going to play you a bit of Madonna. And guess what? It still pops off, you know?
Yeah.
How many years later? So I think that's what it really comes down to. And I do think, you know, there was that conversation, I think, just before COVID hits, is radio a dire niche? And I think at one point it really was. I think even the likes of Radio 2 and 6, and dare I say even Radio 1, who has a bigger listenership than One Extra, they was also feeling a hit as well. You know, the radio numbers were lower than it ever was. And I think it almost got to people being like, guys, we need something, what's going to happen? And then I think that was almost a blessing of a curse when COVID actually hit, because I think that's where people, they needed to hear a voice. They needed to feel like there was a sense of community, because no one knew what was happening. You know, no one was allowed outside. You know, a lot of people were vulnerable. You know, they're very lonely. It was a very weird time in the world. And I think a lot of people ended up going back to radio. We started seeing like people who tapped out of radio many moons ago being like, you know what? What's drive time saying? You know, I've got nothing. Let me have it on whilst I, you know, vacuum my house for the 8th time. And it was really nice to hear these stories being like, yeah, I'm stuck at home, but thank God for you lot's voices and your crazy stories that's keeping us alive, keeping us going. It almost became their new routine. And then I think from then it was like, actually no, radio is actually here to stay. There are still people who still look at it as a really positive outlook and almost a huge part of their lives.
Without the pandemic, I wonder what, like, how many things would be different, because yes, it is a way of bringing that community together. It's interesting that like Gen Z and maybe part of millennials as well just don't tap in that same way, and I'm intrigued to see how that's going to change over the years. I've had such a good time, and I'm going to end with questions I ask every guest. And this is all like a quick fire round. So what's your favorite memory or pinch me moment in your career so far?
Oh, I would even go as far as to say when I first got the internship at Sony.
What was it at Sony that made you go, oh my God, this is happening?
Oh, bit of a curveball with this one, but I think when they gave me the full permission to do a promo rollout for Atomic Kitten, it's so wild, I know.
I get it.
But I think for me, it was like, oh my God, you guys are legends in the game. Like, I grew up listening to you. But more importantly, this billion-dollar label is trusting me, who's only just started here a few weeks ago. You're like, I'm going to leave you to talk to artist management. If you need us, we're here, but it's all you. Do what you want. I was like, oh my God. Like, what? And I was like, yeah. Set up a promo schedule. You talk to the TV lot, talk to radio, get these people going. Yeah, flesh it out, send it to us, let us know what you think. Book the cabs. I need you to book across everything. Fine. I was like, I can do it, but are you sure? Like, it was really that moment for me. So I was like, yeah, I do thank Sony for giving me that moment, because up until that point, I was like, I never once doubted myself stepping into something new. I was like, I'm here because I'm capable.
Has your perspective of the music industry changed from when you started to now?
Yeah, I think it's quite a funny one as a millennial as well, because I feel like a lot of our mentors or people we reported to, they would fondly talk about memories of, going to the clubs and shotting CDs, or being able to play a vinyl as part of their listening party. And I'm like, oh, you're kind of old. That's crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a spring chicken myself. I remember having like CDs and stuff too, but it's also like, you had to tell that. It's like, everything's online. So it's quite funny stepping into being like, no, this is my world. Like, we had the best of both in a sense, but we're too young to know what it was like, I guess, in a corporate sense. So to know how it worked as a kid and then stepping in the corporate world was more digital, it's like, this is our norm. So it's still quite funny to have those conversations, but then to see it change yet again. And I think this is where it's almost like a nuance for us, because now you've got the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas that's now like charting and doing the stuff that needs to be doing. Like, they're the ones setting the trends, popping off on socials. And now it's like we are now seeing it almost like a living, breathing organism on how big it really can be. Like, for us, if you remember first early days of like the Facebooks, your MySpace, the Instagram,
Bebo.
we were just oh my God, we are going in the crates for this one. Like, it was really just, we want to look cute, we want to post, pick our favorite song, flirt with our crush. It was that simple. Life was simple.
Yeah.
But these kids, they're like marketing geniuses. They're like, well, no, I'm going to use it to market myself. Like, I'm going to use this snippet and it's going to coexist here. And I'm going to watch how many creations off the back of that. I'm also going to pre-save this. I'm also going to strategically jump on a live and then have my unreleased song play it in the back. Like, we didn't have that level of strategic thinking. Everything was just fun for us. So I think having to grow in a business whilst we too are growing on how to utilize the digital space as a business was also quite interesting, because even like talking to my sister, who's very much Gen Z, I will be talking to her about certain things. Like, no, that's why they use this thumbnail, and don't you know about Twitch, and you can easily jump on here and do this. I'm like, oh, okay. I just felt like I just got my head around TikTok, but now Twitch. And it's quite funny because a conversation, sorry to go on a tangent, I was having this conversation with a few like radio presenters, and it's funny on how not only are Gen Zs are the ones that's like predicting what's trending, but also it's almost like influencers trump everything now. And I feel like back in the day we were just worshipping like celebs, but now it's like celebs are just like almost secondary in comparison to influencers.
Yeah. It's like celebrities have to be influencers as well to stay relevant.
And if they're not, it's like, oh, you're old. That's boring. What do you mean? You're just out here doing a Chanel ad and I caught you on a red carpet. Boring. Like, now they want a bit of chaos. They want a little bit of disruption. They want to be like, okay, how can you market yourself and still be cool and still be relevant again as an influencer? I think internally, when it comes to these jobs and major labels, they too are changing. So on the tail end of being at Warner, I noticed that my job went from traditional marketing, which was obviously outdoor campaigns and events and to do more in-person activations, slowly started to become more digital marketing. And this happened over the space of a few months.
How it used to be and how it is, it's changed so quick, because guys, we're not that old. And I feel like it's changed so quickly from back in the day where everything was analog to now. And it's just getting faster and faster. Yeah, really interesting to see how that's changed. What advice have you got for listeners who want to break into broadcasting?
My best advice I could give you is learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you have an idea, but you're thinking, oh, I don't have radio experience, or maybe you do have radio experience, but maybe you're at, you're starting out, maybe at a student radio station, or you're, amongst the amazing local community radio stations. Your idea is just as impactful and just as big. You just have to be the face of it. You have to just run it with confidence. And also, again, I think I mentioned it earlier, closed mouths don't get fed. So even if you are in a position of growing your brand or really understanding the mechanisms of what it means to work in radio, don't be afraid to ask the questions. It's better to feel silly for a moment than a lifetime, is what my mentor once said to me. And that is obviously ingrained. And now I feel like I take that everywhere I go. Like even now, someone who's worked in radio for 5+ years, I still ask the questions. I will stop an editor one day and be like, how do you get this package to go from here and transcend in these spaces? And, I may have a vague idea, but I'd like to hear it from them, because this is their everyday as well. So I think always ask the questions, make yourself available where you can, obviously within moderation, of course, because, mental health and all that. Thank you.
Work-life balance.
Yes, balance, important. But yeah, have an open mind, never pigeonhole yourself just because you think, I come from this background, this is what I'm probably going to end up doing. No, find yourself jumping into maybe a pop rock space, even though let's say you specialize in R&B, because you never know when the crossover may happen.
That is so true. Thank you so much for that. Okay, last question. This might be a hard one as well. But again, it's right now, these things change. Favorite song or artist of the moment?
Oh my gosh, why did you do this to me? It changes every day and every hour. Oh my gosh, what is my favorite song? I don't want to be basic, but it may come across as basic.
There's no judgment here, girl.
So I have two.
Okay.
That I'm loving right now. So one, obviously, this artist, I think I even mentioned it in the beginning. Obviously got amazing commercial success, amazing awards. I would actually go as far as say Olivia Dean. I think I was always a fan of her from the jump, just because I feel like she's been putting in the work. She's been in the game for 8+ years.
Yeah.
And I think I was always I started off as a passive listener, just because I was like, okay, she's cute. But then there's always that one track where it's like, oh my God, I think this is gonna be her moment. And I remember sitting in the meetings like, guys, you lost a fan of Olivia Dean. I was like, she's cute. I was like, no, guys, I don't think we need to jump on it now, because something is happening. I can feel it. Like, she is going to blow, and I feel like you guys need to see this. And then I think within a few weeks, I heard Radio 1 started being like, oh, we're going to start adding her to playlists. I think she's amazing. And I was like, yep, that's the start, guys. There it is. And then Man I Need came. Rest is history. Everyone went crazy for it. I was like, oh my God, I love her to pieces. And I was like, yeah, I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, you do have a knack for that, don't you?
What can I say, guys? Maybe I'm at A&R now at this point. Put me in, get me involved.
You never know. And what's your second one?
I did say Manita in the beginning, but I'm going to park it because you know what? I need to alleviate space for everyone else. Okay. I'm going to be fair.
I like fair.
I'm be biased here.
I like it.
Thank you. I'll go as far as saying Natanya.
Okay, yeah.
She is an artist that I have been following for a little while. I think for me, the moment where I really appreciated her, she had a track called Jezebel, and I just fell in love with it. I was like, oh, I love the beat. I love everything about it. And even the odd rendition she used to do back in the day, back when she was performing at Lower Third, I was like, this girl is going to do amazing things. And then I remember I went to see Pink Panthers up in OT Brixton, and she just bodied it. She came out on stage and she was like, you lots don't know me, but you're going to get to know me. And her fit was amazing. Her voice was just kiss. I loved it. And nice. I knew I trusted you. I knew I was in the right place to be a fan. So yeah.
I love that. Those are very good commercial choice, and something maybe a bit more lesser known for people, but get to know. Khadia's shown us her taste makes stars. What can I say? And we're going to end it on that. Thank you so much, Khadiee Afflick, for being my guest today. Where can people find you on socials?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. We appreciate you. You're doing the Lord's work. I hope you know that.
Thank you.
No
I know.
worries.
Well, I didn't want to say, but thanks.
You deserve that. Yeah. Cool. So if you want to find me, you can find me on Insta. So that will be just_cads. So that will be spelled JUST_cads, spelled KHADS. No longer a Z because I'm grown now.
She's a woman.
I'm a woman. Yes.
Thank you so much. And you can find me at Saskia Kumba on IG and TikTok. You can follow at the B-Side Music Pod. And you can even email us on the bsidemusicpod@gmail.com for guest suggestions, questions, or comments. Thanks for listening and see you next time. Bye.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Don't forget me when you blow, okay?